Welcome to the exercise portion of the Maternix Postpartum Recovery program. Through these 5 weeks of exercises, we're going to start off with regaining mobility and working on our breath, and then progressing week by week up to agility and more dynamic exercises, which will prepare you for more exercises, including running and returning to high impact activity. These exercises have been specifically designed to stretch out areas that typically get tight and to strengthen areas that can be hard to connect with postpartum. These exercises can be done after vaginal or C-section delivery. You can progress through these exercises on a week-to-week basis if you are able, but if you find that one week is more challenging than the other ones, then definitely feel free to stick with that week for an extra few weeks before you're ready to progress. Feelings of stretching and fatigue during exercising is normal, but you should not feel acute pain. If you do, try and pull back and regress the exercise, and you can progress it as you become stronger throughout the weeks. Additionally, if you feel any pelvic heaviness or the need to urinate, or if you're leaking at all, it means that you're not managing the pressure in your canister or your core very well, and we need to build up that strength before you progress to that exercise. So always listen to your body while you're exercising, and again, if you have any questions, please reach out to me. Thanks again for taking the course, and I hope you enjoyed this routine. So we're gonna go right into the first exercise here, and it's all about TA activation, our transverse abdominis. So I'm gonna get you to lie on your back with your knees bent up so that you're nice and comfortable, even more there. And we're gonna have our hands on our lower abdominal muscles here on our hip bones. So that the pads of your fingers are just on the inside of your hip bones. So that's where our deep core muscles are, our transverse abdominis. And what we're gonna do here is use our breath to engage those lower abdominals. Now, this is hard postpartum for everyone, but it's definitely can be a little bit trickier and maybe take a little bit more time to engage if you've had a C-section. So because of the scar tissue there, it can be hard to feel these muscles again, but they will come back, especially if you keep working on them. So just keep it up. It just might take a little bit more time than you might think. So on the inhale, we're gonna have a nice 360 degrees diaphragmatic breath to fill up the abdomen and let those ribs expand to the side. And then on the exhale, we're gonna purse our lips so that we get a nice long exhale, and we're gonna try and feel like we're tightening those lower abdominal muscles. Good, relax on the inhale, and then exhale. Good, and then just take a break there. On the exhale, I want you to imagine like you're pulling your hip bones up towards your belly button. So we're going to inhale, expand, and then exhale, and pull. Perfect. And if you have your fingertips just on the inside of your hip bones here, you should feel like those muscles are tightening under your fingertips. Now, what I don't want you to do, which is really common, is to tilt your pelvis while you do this. So Adrian's just going to show us a pelvic tilt on her exhale. So we're going to inhale, relax, and then she's going to tilt her pelvis. So that's a pelvic tilt. It's good to be able to pelvic tilt, but that's not what we're going for today. So we're going to relax that pelvis down. And then on the exhale, we're just pulling those muscles towards each other without tilting the pelvis. So relax on the inhale. Don't tilt the pelvis. Good. Inhale, relax. Exhale, tighten. Perfect. And then just take a break there again. On the exhale now, we're just going to do the exact same thing. Everything's the same, but I want you to focus on your pelvic floor. So between the pubic symphysis at the front and your tailbone at the back, like a hammock between those 2 points. On the exhale, we're going to feel like we're contracting and lifting the pelvic floor up towards the belly button. On the inhale, we're going to imagine like we're relaxing it and letting it relax down towards your feet. And then on the exhale, contract and lift up. So we're gonna kind of just, you won't be able to see it, but you should be able to feel it. On the inhale, everything relaxes. And then on the exhale, we're bringing those hip bones together, contracting the pelvic floor, feeling a lift. So let's go ahead and do 3 of those nice slow breaths. So take your time. Inhale. And lift. Good. Inhale, relax, allow the pelvic floor to open. Exhale, tighten and lift. You can feel those lower abdominals tighten. Last one, and tighten up. Perfect. So now that we've got those lower abs engaged, we're going to tighten those tummy muscles, and then without holding our breath, you're just going to keep them tight while breathing. We're going to start adding in different things to challenge those core muscles. So we're going to just engage the core muscles with a breath, but then we're going to do a few other things. So inhale, exhale, tighten, and now we're going to hold that, and Adrienne's just going to lift her head off the ground. Good. Maintaining that firmness of those lower abdominals, and then put it back down again. Good. And tighten and lift. Perfect. And put them back down again. Great. Now we're going to tighten, and then instead of lifting our head, Adrienne's going to lift her one leg off the ground, straighten it all the way out, lift it up, and do that 5 times in a row to really challenge this core. And what you want to make sure not to do is to allow that back to lift off the ground and not to allow the pelvis to tip one side or the other. So let's go ahead and contract those lower abs. Nice. Lift, and we're extending, and you can see Adrienne's got really nice control through her whole trunk. She's not letting her ribs flare off the ground or her pelvis to tilt side to side. We got 2 more on this side. 4, and last one, 5. Good. And then she's going to bring it up and put her foot down, and she's going to relax there, give yourself a break, and then she's going to do 5 on the left. So tighten. 1, 2, 3. You should be feeling it in those lower abdominals. 4 and 5, and put it down. We're going to do 5 more on the right, 5 more on the left. This should be working your core. You shouldn't really be feeling very much movement in the trunk at all. 2, 3, 2 more, 4, and 5. Perfect. You feeling it in the core?
Yeah.
Nice. And 5 on the left. 1, 2. And it's a good idea for yourself to feel yourself putting your fingers there just so that you're aware of what you're feeling, and you can feel it if you're starting to move too much through that pelvis. Last one, up and down. Great. Okay, next we're going to go into hip 90-90. So Adrienne's going to come into a 90-90 position with her legs. And from here, we want to make sure that all the angles are 90 degrees. So we're going to open up this one a little bit more and open this one up a little bit more as well. So 90, 90, and 90 degrees. So from here, what she's going to do is actively push down her left knee without leaning forward. So sit up nice and tall. And then just from the hip, try and squish something under your front knee. Good. Not with your hand, just actively. So you're engaging that whole hip, and then hold it for 3, 2, 1, relax. And we're going to do that 4 more times. So push down, 3, 2, 1, relax. And again, 3, 2, 1, relax. 2 more. Push, 3, 2, 1. And last one. And you should feel the whole hip joint kind of engaged there. Now we're going to switch to the back leg and work on internal rotation of this back leg. Now this can be really hard, especially if you're stiff through the hips, but we're going to give it a go. So just do the best you can. From here, Adrienne's going to try and lift her foot off the mat. Good. And then lower it down. We're not going to hold it there. So we're just going to lift and lower because it's a hard movement. Good. It is hard, yeah. But it gets better with practice. So the more you do it, the better it will get. And we'll do it twice more on this side. Lift and lower. Last one. Lift and lower. And if you start to kind of cramp here through the front, that's okay. It's totally normal. It will go away the more that you do this. But if you just feel a big stretch in this position alone, then you can just hold this stretch and try and sit up nice and tall without even doing the holds. Okay, let's switch over and do the other side. So from here, we want to make sure all our angles are at 90. Perfect. And then from here, just take your left, yep. And then sitting up nice and tall, don't lean forward. just push from the hip. Great. And we're going to hold it. So push, 3, 2, 1. And we'll do that 4 more times. So this is like an active mobility exercise. You're using the power of the hip to push into your outer ranges. And last one, 3, 2, 1. Good. And then we're going to try that back leg, and she's going to try and lift it off the ground. Good. And lift and lower. You don't have to hold it because it's tough. 3 more here. 3, 2, and 1. And if you can't get it off the ground to begin with, that's totally normal. A lot of people find it really hard to get it off the ground, but it will improve with time. So last week we did kneeling squats from our knees so that we got used to hinging at our hips and using our breath, breathing in as we go down and then out as we come up. So we're going to just progress that to standing squats. So feet just a little bit wider than hip width apart, toes slightly turned out, whatever is a comfortable stance for you. We're going to hinge through our hips back. Good. And then come back up. And Adrian's just going to keep going in her squat. She's going to do 10. And what I'm going to get her to do is, looks pretty good. I want you to use a little bit more hips instead of knees. So really sink back into the squat with your hips first. Good. And then coordinate with your breath. Inhale as you go down. Exhale as you come up. Inhale down. Exhale up. Good. Inhale down. Exhale up. And I'm going to have your shoulders a little bit more forward. So imagine like there's a string between your head, top of your head, and your tailbone. Great. So that way we're not getting too much arching of that lower back, and really come into a full standing position as you come up. Really push those hips forward. Good. And we're just going to turn and face the other way for the next 10. That was probably more than 10, but that's okay. Inhale and then exhale. Squeezing those glutes on the way up. And then thinking of that pelvic floor as you come down, relaxing it, and then squeezing it to come up, lifting those lower abs. I think that's 5, so we're going to do 5 more. 5, 4, really focusing on driving those hips back. 3, 2, and 1. Great. So next are sumo squats. So these are wide leg squats. We're going to take our feet further than hip width apart, toes facing a little bit further out, but whatever's comfortable for you. Now, if you have low back pain kind of right here, and these are uncomfortable for you, then I would just suggest sticking to regular squats. But if you're feeling comfortable with these, then go ahead and give them a try. And same thing, we're going to use those hips, sink down, and then on the way up, we're going to exhale on the way up to really engage that core, pelvic floor, and the glutes. So inhale, relax, and then on the way up, squeeze the bum, pushing the hips forward. Good. And Adrian's doing a really nice job. You just want to be mindful of where those knees are tracking. So if they're coming too far in, then you want to bring your stance in a little bit so that you can control the knees driving over your middle toe. We'll do 3 more here before we get a little break. 2 and 1. Great. And then I'll just get you to do the same thing, but facing a little bit on a 45-degree angle. Yeah, perfect. We'll do 10 here. 10, really sinking back into those hips. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, really feeling the whole foot. So use the power of the whole foot. You feel your heel, your big toe, your small toe mound, so that you're engaging the whole foot. I think we got 2 more, 2, last one, and 1. So that's 2 sets of 10 of sumo squats. You can add a third set if you feel like you can do more. The next one we're going to be doing is heel raises, but we're going to add a ball to squeeze between our ankles to make sure that we're getting good stability of our ankle joint through the movement. The ankles really support our hips and our pelvic floor, so having strong ankles helps to take tension and pressure away from our hips. So we're going to place the ball right down between the ankles, feet parallel, and then from here you're going to keep that ball squeezed between the ankles and rise up as high as you can, keeping pressure through the ball the whole time. And you can do this in bare feet or with running shoes, whatever is more comfortable for you. We have Adrian holding a bar because we're not really trying to work on balance here. We're just trying to work on strength of the ankles. The other thing I want you to think about while doing this exercise is straightening your knees. So keeping your knees straight. If you're doing a heel raise and your knees are bending while you're doing it, we're missing out on some of the benefits of the exercise. So I want you to keep those quads nice and tight and pulled up. Beautiful.
Harder than it looks.
Yeah, it really burns the calves. Good. And then we'll just turn, Adrian, so that you're facing the side. And we'll do 12 more facing the side. So usually I get people to do 3 sets of 10 heel raises, and then working your way up to doing 30 heel raises in a row. If you haven't been doing heel raises for a long time though, definitely start with a few breaks, and you can even start with 3 sets of 8 or 3 sets of 5, just because if you're not used to it, the calves can get really tight. And always try and get as high up as you can so that you're really up onto your tippy toes. Great, we'll do 2 more here. Sorry, I lied. Let's do 2 more. I think that was 10, 11, and 12. Perfect. And then if you're tight after, you can always do a calf stretch, straight leg, as well as a bent knee calf stretch, just to stretch out those calf muscles. I hope you enjoyed week 3 of the Maternix Postpartum Recovery Program. Thank you, Adrian. Hopefully she'll stick around for me next week. Next week, we're going to be doing more challenging core exercises. So I hope that what we reviewed today really kind of stuck and you can practice that so that we can amp it up next week. Thanks for joining me for the Maternix Postpartum Recovery Program. I hope these exercises were helpful and that you can continue doing them in the weeks to come. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out to me via the membership page or at my email info@maternix.ca. You can use these exercises in conjunction with other exercise routines, but they are meant to take you from early postpartum into whatever activities you do want to get back to. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for taking the course.